Hey guys, I want to take a minute and look at triangular prisms with you. So you can see I've already got sketched out our triangular prism, and then I've already broken it into our net. Okay, so remember, every triangular prism has two triangles and three rectangles. Okay, and so I've just peeled this apart. Okay, and so you see the three rectangles. Remember, drawing the scale is not necessary as long as you label your parts correctly. So let's go over labeling my parts. Okay? So let's start with our triangles. And I know that for my triangle, I'm focused on my base and my height. Well, the base of this triangle is what this triangle was sitting on, which is 10 feet. So if this is 10 feet, and if this one is 10 feet, the base of the other is also 10 feet. All right. The other piece that I need is my height, which is shown by this dotted line down the middle, right? Which is 5 foot. And if the height's 5 foot on one triangle, is 5 foot on the other, because they are identical triangles. And then I've got our formulas out to the side, so we remember how to work them. Now for our rectangles, right, not all of these are the same. So let's look at what this means. Okay? Well, for this rectangle, it came from this side, right, and the length of this piece is 12. So that would be this piece. This is what dropped down, right, to make that. So that's 12 foot. Now when this came that way, this part came this way, and this part is 14 feet. So that has to be 14 feet. Okay. Now, before I folded this central line here was right here, and it measures 20 feet. And if this one is 20 feet, this has to be 20 feet as well. And these have to be 20 feet as well. Okay, so now I have everything I need to solve these problems. Okay. So I told you in class, right, I want to go ahead and identify each one. Right? Again, it doesn't matter which one you assign rectangle 1, rectangle 2, rectangle 3, triangle 1, triangle 2, as long as you correctly identify the measurements. So I also told you I have a tendency to go left to right like I'm reading. So this is rectangle number 1 for me. This one's going to be rectangle number 2 for me. This is going to be rectangle number 3 for me. Right? The top is going to be my triangle 1, and the bottom is going to be my triangle 2. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and make a list so that I keep in mind, or keep track of all the data that I get as I work, and then I can come back to it when I need to later. Okay? Now, we'll start with our rectangles. The simple formula is length times width. Okay, so for rectangle number 1, I've identified rectangle number 1 as this one, and it has measures of 20 and 12. Okay, so I'm going to multiply 20 times 12, and I get 240. So the area for the first rectangle is 240 square feet. Then I move on to rectangle number 2. Rectangle number 2 measures 10 by 20, which is 200 square feet. Okay. And then our last rectangle, R3, measures 20 by 14, and 20 by 14 is 280 square feet. Okay. So those are the measures of my rectangles. Now let's go to our triangles, because this is where we get into trouble. We forget to take half. Okay, so for triangle number 1, we have a base of 10 and a height of 5. Well, 10 times 5 is 50. But then I have to divide that by 2 to give me 25. So triangle number 1 has an area of 25 square feet. And since I have identical triangles, triangle number 2 also has an area of 25 square feet. Now, once I have all of my areas, I need to combine them. I do that by adding all the areas together. And once I add all of these together, I find my total surface area. Well, my surface area for this triangular prism is 770 square feet. Okay. All right, I hope this helps, guys. I will see you in class tomorrow.